Play.
Hello guys, as you know, we're going to be watching Thiem and Tsitsipas. Apologies for the brief delay. They've actually already played the first game. Vansh is going to be here in like a matter of seconds. So we should be fine on that. Basically, as you know, we are going to be following this first round match of the Erste Bank Open in Vienna. Dominic Thiem, Stefanos Tsitsipas, very exciting. I'm going to try to figure something out in terms of showing the score on the screen because I think our producer will not be here for like the first set at least. But I'm gonna figure this out sort of on the fly as they've already begun, and basically we had to come on. Tsitsipas had a super easy opening game. I think to sort of talk about the matchup and their history, I'm gonna wait for Vansh, who's gonna be here in a second. It's gonna be more interesting this way probably. At 7:53 a.m. today, so in like 10 hours ago, we had a comment from Lucy. I don't know if she's still here, but she is the first Stefanos Tsitsipas fan on this chat here. Not the first one, of all time, just the first in this particular stream, as she was already there 10 hours ago. There is already a pretty exciting backhand rally, Tsitsipas slicing, and it's just not good enough as usual. It's short, there's nothing on it, it floats, and Thiem steps into this inside-out forehand. Oh, sorry. I think I'll have to send Vansh the link to the watch along somehow. How do I do that here? Oh, maybe the invite button should help me out, I'm assuming. Yes, indeed. Copy, and I'll send it to him on Twitter. Where is he here? Yep. Okay, I'm still figuring out the score thing. So far, Thiem is just 40 up. Okay, I sent it to Vansh on Twitter, and now I can get back to watching the match. I'll try to figure out the score in a second, probably from our own website. No, actually, I don't think we can do that. Yeah, this should work, I guess. But now, how do I share it? It would be easier if Vansh was here, but we'll see. He should be here in a second. Anyway, Tsitsipas wins the next point, putting some pressure on Thiem with this deep forehand down the line, but it might be too late anyway. 40-15. Yeah, I don't know how this screen sharing thing with the scores work. Like, can it works? Can I actually, do something else in the meantime? I'm not sure. So I'm probably gonna do the score in the form of a banner for now. Hello, Vansh.
Hello, hi Damien. Sorry, I was running a bit late, but
No, I mean, basically, when you texted, I was only about to begin the stream anyway. As you can see, it's just 4 minutes for now. So
yeah.
we
I
really
see you've
wasn't
let go.
recording. Yes,
You've let
today.
go of your facial hair.
Today, yes. I'm going to a tournament next week, and I basically wouldn't be able to go like that anyway. So it had to go at some point.
Yeah.
It wasn't really like I couldn't really wear it anymore. Like outside with people, nah, just no. So yeah, for now the scoring is gonna be in that sort of form. I think the banner. That's all I can do. I tried the share screen option, but it was just sharing my entire screen, and I'm not sure how I would. Maybe with 2 monitors it would be doable, but I don't know. For now, we're gonna stay like that. Have you actually been able to watch any points so far, or are you still in the process of putting
No, I
on
started
the?
watching from log one. So
Oh, okay.
I watched the first service game of Thiem.
You've seen the awful slice from Tsitsipas in the second
Yeah,
point of the game, which basically sort of ended that right there.
yeah,
But to his credit, so far he's holding very quickly. I actually, decided to skip talking about like their history and etc. before you came along, so we can just sort of cover it now as Tsitsipas just easily held for 2-1, 5-all right between the two, and actually it's Tsitsipas who was down 3-5 before this year. And would it be fair to say that Thiem, despite losing, played some of his best tennis of 2023 against Tsitsipas?
yeah. I think you could say two of his best matches, certainly from a level standpoint, were came against Steph at the first round of Wimbledon, and then also in Madrid. And both matches, he lost the final set tiebreak. And we really thought both times that after, or at least after Madrid, I certainly thought, okay, this is going to be a team potentially taking a step forward, and maybe we'll see him build on this. But it never really happened. Although he did get to the 50-50 final in Kitchbull after Wimbledon, so that was a decent result. But he was just cooked by the time he got to the final, and Baez was able to dismantle him quite comfortably. But
Yeah, it didn't feel like the run was very repeatable with how he was winning his matches there. The five match points against Jerry and etc. Right.
yeah,
But yeah, I think especially you're right that especially after Madrid, I think the excitement was there for sure when it comes to Team. Everyone was like, okay, this is where he steps up, and as it stands, I mean, he's still fighting to be in the Australian Open main draw. So it
yeah,
hasn't really worked out for him whatsoever. I mean, a loss here, a loss in Paris, and then, well, Sofia Armetsky doesn't even have to get into these events because he hasn't signed up for the qualies. I saw, and he might be in real trouble. He might not make Melbourne if he doesn't win matches from here. So it's really not as good as that Kitzbühel final would make you think it is.
yeah, for sure. And he's number 106 right now in the race.
Yeah,
So he's on that edge. I mean, you basically have to be like 103, 104 in order to get into the main draw, right?
yeah, 6 weeks before the Australian Open, so basically beginning of December. So there's always the possibility to play a challenger even in the last week before that. We have 4 events, I think, in the last week, two of them in Europe. Maspalomas and Maya. Maya, a pretty big challenger, indoors clay, and Maspalomas outdoors on clay. So maybe even something like that from Team in the last few weeks. Who knows? I
Yeah,
saw that he's actually not signed up for any challenger after the Met Sofia week, which surprised me quite a lot. Because I figured that I think there's only one in Europe there in Danderyd. This is close to Stockholm. This is the Good to Great tennis academy, and I thought that team was probably going to sign up for that because, well, it looks like he might need the points. Maybe he could
yeah,
still, pick up a wild card if he actually does, but maybe he's just hoping to actually earn
okay.
something in Vienna, especially probably. I mean, he's playing the main draw here for the 12th time, by the way, and that's obviously an insane inside-out backhand winner here.
Yeah,
Well, it wasn't
mm,
like a full on inside-out, I guess. It was a down the line, but similar.
yeah. It's those sort of backhands that team is obviously known for, and he can still hit quite well in a lot of his matches.
Yeah,
Um,
there's nothing really that declined about this shot for him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he still has the open stance. He still has the slice.
Yeah,
He's still got the drive down the line. So,
just
but
sort
it's really
of.
all about the forehand for him, and it just injury just made you realize just how dominant of a shot that was in his prime.
And how much of a ball basher Dominic Thiem was, honestly. Like he actually in his peak, I think people kind of forget how he played. Every single shot was 100 miles per hour, and he was just blasting the ball continuously. But I'm not saying he did it like mindlessly. He played dumb tennis or something, but he really relied on this insane power in both his strokes. And when it's disappeared, well, we see what's happening.
Yeah, and I think actually the advantage he has in this matchup is he doesn't
Hmm.
have to blast his way through Tsitsipas necessarily. He
Yeah,
just needs to hit it very heavy, and because we've seen that the heaviness of, for example, we were doing the
yes,
first match, and it was the same kind of thing where the heaviness of Thesis forehand is really what caused problems for Tsitsipas in terms of
yep.
absorbing. So I think I feel like it's a similar thing here.
Yeah, it's a nice, I guess, segue because we did the commentary for the one against Fields, right, in Antwerp a few
Yeah.
days ago, and it seems like a similar type of game plan absolutely could work. Tsitsipas was actually a pretty big favorite for the bookies before this one. Maybe a little too much even, but
Mm.
I do agree that he's the favorite. But especially remembering their last two clashes, although with Thiem it just seems like right now he sort of has a spectacular performance every now and then, but then also mixes it up with some absolutely awful stuff. So
Yeah.
it's hard to know which day you're actually going to land. Well, in Antwerp last week, obviously he beat Nardi, but it was a huge comeback. And against Hanfman, I think he won like 15 more points or something like that, and he lost the match. So it was a good week. And by the way, he was also expected to play Tsitsipas there. If you guys remember, if he
Yes.
beat Hanfman, they would have played in the quarters. This time they're just playing first round, so no way to avoid it. Not that any guy would want to do that. I think on hardcourts, Team also leads Tsitsipas 4-2, which is quite interesting. Although indoors, it's 1-1 with just two meetings at the Nito ATP finals. One of them was, of course, the final of the ATP finals. My least favorite expression in the world.
Yeah.
When in 2019 Stefanos beat him. What's going on in this point? I don't really understand it.
I'm at second serve.
Apostolos is also very confused.
Okay, I'm just watching it right now.
And Tsitsipas gets the point.
Looks like Team stopped the point to try to challenge.
I don't fully understand what happened. Apostolos is also super confused. Stefanos for a moment was, but then the umpire, unless maybe, um, hmm, it's a shame. I might try to rewind, although I'm not sure it's gonna actually give me much. I thought it maybe Team's lob hit something on the roof, maybe like that would be a reasonable explanation of what happened because I don't really get it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I might have to watch the point back.
Yeah, because all the Tsitsipas shots were like really close. Yeah, it must be that. It literally must be that.
Hmm.
There's nothing else here. Yeah. Um, I'm pretty sure that's Team got the point. I mean, Tsitsipas got the point because Team's lob hit the roof.
Yeah.
There's nothing else really that could have happened otherwise. I mean, not the roof itself, probably, because then Steph also would have known it, but like some part of the arena,
Hmm.
whatever. And Team realized, but Steph didn't. But anyway, he managed to close out the game. So putting on the 2-all banner on the screen now.
Yes. Yeah, Matthew pointing out about Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah, that was a pretty sad injury today against Francis because he
Yeah, we
was
probably would have
shooting.
started a lot later, but
Yeah, but yeah, I mean he was down. Francis was down 1-4 left 15, and as Evans was trying to chase a drop shot off of Tiafoe's backhand, he ended up popping a muscle in his calf. Then immediately realized it, and there's just nothing you could really do in that situation. And it's obviously unfortunate for Evans, but also for potentially could end up being disappointing for Great Britain in the Davis Cup, right? With
I'm surprised by how many people are mentioning that. Like literally the first few tweets I saw after that injury were all mentioning the
yeah, I
Davis
mean
Cup.
the commentators. That's the first thing they mentioned actually when it happened. Like that's
They were
immediately their
probably
mind just went to
British.
Davis Cup
I'm assuming they were
because
British, on the world
they
feed.
were
Or
like most of the people on tennis TV. But
yeah, most of the people yeah, that's why I figured because that's literally like the only thing I think that might have led to that.
yeah,
Um, Davis
but
Cup
no,
really
it's
doesn't
quite
have this
possible.
sort of a status, right,
It's
in tennis that everyone is thinking already about the Davis Cup. Like I'm more concerned about Evans, missing Paris. Honestly,
Yeah, well, I
as a
mean, Paris.
non-British person.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna pull out of Paris. It doesn't look like it's something that could
Yeah,
get
Davis
could
Cup
get
is
him.
served out, of course, but Paris will see.
Mm,
But um, a
yeah,
week might not be enough.
like that.
I guess the plus side for Evans is that he's sort of done everything he needed to do this year.
Yeah,
Even if he maybe, probably wants to play the Davis Cup. Of course, he has been very successful in team-based events in the past. But like even if he had to pull the plug on his season here, if he's fine for Australia, it's like not the end of the world for him for
yeah,
sure. He will end the season on a very a very maybe is a stretch, but like a 40% win rate. I wanted to say very negative at first, like sub 50%, but it doesn't really matter because he had a couple of very high peaks. Obviously, the biggest one of them all, 500 in Washington,
yeah,
so it doesn't really matter. And he's like the great example of the fact that you don't really need consistency on the main tour. You just mostly need high peaks.
yeah. That's good enough. I mean, that's why Karatsev is 37 in the world right now too. Um, Even
Yeah,
though he
or-
has had a more consistent.
yeah. Last few months he's actually been pretty consistent. But yeah, there are players like that for sure. We could also
Mm,
talk about. But yeah, Evans this year obviously fits the bill with just 18-25, I think, to 8-26 now on
yeah,
paper. After the Tiafoe retirement loss, so with a win loss record of 18-26, he's still gonna finish top 50, I think. So
yeah.
um,
Managed to peak against Alcaraz both times he played him also.
and didn't get the
And
win.
then,
So
yeah,
yeah, so like points wise, it didn't happen. In general, sure. It's actually quite wild that Dan Evans is 33. I mean, sometimes I just forget about that.
yeah. I forget that he's that old actually. Like,
Yeah, me too.
that's, yeah,
So it's likely that in like 2 or 3 years we might not be watching Dan Evans on the main tour, but who
yeah,
knows? He actually had some breaks as well, so theoretically he's not as worn out as other players, I guess.
yeah,
And the reason why it doesn't feel like he's so old is that he's not like, I don't know, Shapovalov playing main tour events at 18. Tiafoe is a good example as well of a guy. I never can believe that Tiafoe is just 24 5 or whatever he is, 25 I think, whereas
mm,
Evans, his main tour days have basically started like what, 6 years ago or something like that,
yeah.
like
Yeah, the
proper full seasons, let's say that.
That's why age is such a funny thing in tennis because it's all relative to their breakthrough or
Yeah.
when they first broke through. Like even Divinor is like, he turned 24 this year. It's like we've been
Yeah.
watching him forever. Even
Yeah.
Felix Auger-Aliassime feels like we've been watching him for like half a decade, and he's 23.
True. I think Tiafoe is the biggest one for me. Like I just always feel like Tiafoe must be a lot older. And then I realize he's
Yeah,
25. He played the next gen finals. Some of the guys that played the next gen finals, that they're actually like pretty crazy. In terms of I would never believe that they were next gen in 2017, but they actually were. And Tsitsipas held from that low 30
yeah,
situation, so good for him. Nothing. I don't think there were any real moments for team to capitalize on something there, but
not
obviously we
really.
might still remember that moment if it goes like to a tiebreak or something, and it's the only closer one we had. Um, Anything other of interest in Vienna today? Probably not so much so far, right? I
Yeah, the
mean,
matches are not
very
hitting
comfortable
so
wins
hard
for
today.
Mahac and Paul. Rublev Popyrin was interesting for a while, which I guess you sort of, this was exactly what you expected from Popyrin and Rublev, to be close, but then Andre to win.
Yeah, Andre came back from love 4 down in the first set tiebreak, and for a while he lost his momentum because he was up. I think he was up 4-2. Was serving for
Yeah, 4-2 and
next
had
few
like a
points.
break point at 4-2, I think.
Yeah, and then there was a moment where you thought, oh, Paparan is really igniting and he's going to serve this set out. Rublev got really frustrated, but then quickly bounced back, and it was kind of what you expected. like a tight one, but with Rublev
The
playing well.
usual Rublev match, sort of
Yeah,
in the early rounds. Although this year he actually has an interesting path in that because I saw that he's like 18-5 now, I think, in the opening rounds. But at one point he won 13 of them in a row. So he actually also had patches where it wasn't
yeah.
working out.
He lost both his Australian Open warm-ups first round. I remember.
That and then also around before the US Open, right? Before the US Open, he
Yes,
also had
yes,
a
against
patch of like three
that
losses in a row or
insane match against Rusevori, where apparently he only came
Russell,
to that
yeah.
one time, which I still can't believe. But
Come again?
he only came to the net one time in that match against Rusevori. It's
And
really very sad.
Rusevori, how many times did he go to the net?
I don't
Because they're
remember
sort of
actually.
in the
But no
same
more than
boat,
one.
right? I mean, they're
Yeah.
sort of in the same boat of like not having a transition game whatsoever, and it would
Actually, you know
improve
what? I was
their
there on site for
tennis a
this
lot.
match, and one of my friends actually logged that. I can
Uh-huh.
tell you right now.
No, I mean, probably Rusevori did it more given that he, got so close and probably had to like step out of his comfort zone
Yeah,
a little bit more to.
yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty funny that even
11 out of 13.
accidentally,
So
right? You
he
end
won
up at
11
the
of
net
his,
quite a lot. Hmm?
11 of his 13 net points in that match.
Okay, that's
So
yeah, that's not much. But yeah, one is definitely rare in a match, even accidentally after an opponent drop shot or after. But then
yeah,
again, you're playing Rusevori; he's not gonna drop shot you most of the time,
yeah,
and
it's someone who played on the back.
yeah, you're both just gonna stick to the baseline and try to blast each other off the court.
Yeah.
They are fairly similar, definitely.
Well, so far, team is having a quite a comfortable time holding. Just kind of textbook holds so far. Getting the short replies from the Tsitsipas backhand, and then really just feasting
Yeah,
on that.
indeed, and also like I guess that for the most part, like the thing that gives team Tsitsipas the advantage in terms of the odds and like the general perception is probably how comfortably he should be holding, right?
Yeah,
Most of the time. So for team to start like that is pretty good. I still believe that like it's probably the edge for Tsitsipas is a little bit much since
yeah.
it's Vienna as well. Like
They're really
this is
trusting
one
that
of
like in a tiebreak or something,
yeah.
Tsitsipas will just get a
And
couple of
I'm
hours
not
and
sure I do. Yeah, I mean, do I? It's still teams one of team's favorite events. You know, he was born
yeah,
like
and also
very
the
close
crowd.
to
The
Vienna.
crowd. This is where the crowd could actually play a big factor. Like if they do get
Yeah,
to a tiebreak, and I mean,
team
you're
won
just
it
seeing
in 2019. Yeah,
even
playing
last year. I mean, he showed some really good stuff against Tommy Paul in
beat
those two
Tommy
tiebreaks,
Paul, and who did he lose to?
and then lost to
Uh,
Medvedev in the next round.
oh yeah, Medvedev. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy Paul was like a crazy third set tiebreaker as well, right?
And actually, it was after that that he shut down his season, which
Yeah,
at that time I was really questioning because I thought that maybe playing a couple more events would have helped him out. But at the same time, I also looked at it from an angle of like, okay, if he's fully recovered, then he can start the year very strong, and it just never really happened. I mean, it was of course unfortunate to draw Rublev first round of Australian Open, so that really kind of set the tone of where okay, maybe he could have gotten a couple of matches in, or maybe a round or two, and then there was the whole golden swing, and didn't really get any momentum there. It wasn't really until the Tsitsipas match in Madrid, where many people really became hopeful after that.
yeah. I just had another former Austrian champion of this event on my screen in Jürgen Melzer. I think he even won it
Yes.
twice.
Actually, correct
There
me
was
if
an
I'm wrong, but Team's first ever ATP match that he played, it was against Thomas Muster in
I
2011.
think so, Vienna, yeah.
Yeah, in Vienna, and
Yeah. Thomas Muster was like 44 and he just
yeah,
came back for a couple of events in 2021. Sorry, 2011 randomly, yeah. I mean, team played some qualifying in 2010, I think, but
yeah,
I think that his first main draw match on the major could have been that one against Muster, yeah.
yeah.
In Yeah,
At
so
one point, there was
Mhm.
this crazy stat, like at the end of 2020, like after he beat Djokovic in that ATP finals semifinal, I think he reached 300 wins on the ATP tour, and it was like his first match was against a Grand Slam winner, and then his last match was
Mhm.
against Grand
Yeah,
Slam
it's
winner.
cool to start your career with a win against Thomas Muster for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, actually, Kitzbühel was his first match, and also then he played Bangkok. So Muster was just his first win, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, he in 2010 he played just 6 pro matches, only Vienna on the main tour, but was qualifying. And then in 2011 he loses to Jimeno Traver in Kitzbühel, loses to Jarko Nieminen in Bangkok, and beats Thomas Muster in Vienna. I do not know why Thomas Muster came back, but it's fine.
Yeah.
He actually played a fairly full season in 2011 and 2010. He also played some. Like he went free. No, I cannot count that. So I think in 2010 he played 9 matches, won only one of them, and then in 2011 he won five. Sorry, no, four. I think. Um, I think he played no. Oh Jesus, he actually had an awful win rate in 2011. I'm trying to see if he even won a single match, honestly, because I had to discount some seniors stuff. 1-17, I think Thomas Muster was in 2011. So yeah, clearly the comeback didn't make that much sense.
Yeah. He got one win over Leonardo Meyer.
Exactly, and was a crazy upset
Yeah,
at the time.
that's funny.
So yeah, not sure why he played, but he did give Dominic Thiem his first win, which I think after all these years certainly seems like a ridiculous story. At the time, he probably didn't know that Thiem was gonna be the next Austrian, the second Austrian to win a Grand Slam title after him. But
Yeah. Yeah, so we're just kind of textbook stuff on serve. Um,
mhm.
15 out of 17 service points won so far for team. I think just one game where Tsitsipas was able to get it to 30 with that weird point where it hit the Shomuli hit something in the stadium, like you were saying. Oh yeah, there's some comments in the chat about Echeverry.
Echeverry beating Korda. I actually didn't see that, so but of course that's a pretty eye-catching result given that they played twice this year and Korda had no issues whatsoever
None.
on
Yeah,
both
their
occasions.
previous match in was it Beijing? It was like 1-2 and like zero
Yes.
issues, and before that it was also like I think 3-2, like just very one-sided matches.
Um,
But in this one, it was actually Echeverry hitting his forehand really, really well. Korda spraying a few in some untimely moments. The game that he got broken in the third set was just two really bad errors on the forehand, which brought him, which immediately just gave Echeverry like this slight opening, and then he was able to just take it. And it was you wouldn't have expected it. Let's say after Seb won the second set 6-1, and he looked like the dominant player going into the third, but it is the start of a new set, so that can obviously happen
well,
many times.
Echeverry, because Matthew says he was patchy, like he's only really amazing on clay. Like other surfaces, he's gonna be barely okay probably at the ATP level, but I like how he's improved anyway. Like he's getting more out of his serve, which he should. He's almost 2 meters tall,
Yeah,
and previously he was sort of just serving with like clay angles and trying to set up the +1 forehand. Now it's actually more of a weapon on hard
yeah.
or
The
on
import
grass.
results have been really good. Golden Swing plus Roland Garros.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and obviously the forehand is just so good that it can translate through surfaces pretty easily, I think. So yeah, if going forward he can just keep producing on clay and play like that, like he has been on hard courts, I think he's gonna be gonna have an excellent career like this. If
yeah,
he can just keep, I'm not saying he's gonna make Roland Garros quarters every year, but I mean he did have 2 ATP finals this year, right? Santiago and Houston. So like if he can just keep getting results like that every single season and then do as well as he's been doing on hard courts this year, which I know doesn't seem like much, but it's just okay. It's more than some other clay specialists have been able to do. So I think that's absolutely fine for Edge for sure. And how many podcasts do you guys listen to? Barely any, frankly.
Yeah, for me, I listen to a couple here and there whenever there's a good guest. Sometimes like Tennis Channel Inside In. I listen to some of them when they have a guest that I really like, just because I'm friends with the person who produces the show. So I just do it out of that, and also because I was invited to one of the episodes. So that would be kind of the one for me. It comes out every Thursday, and then I kind of see like, do I want to listen to this one? Maybe I'll try some of it. But honestly, there's like I was discussing this last time we were on the stream that there's
Yeah,
just so much tennis content and saturation of content that it's just kind of it's not really meant for people like us who are so in tune with every single hour of tennis that's happening during the day that I don't think we're necessarily going to learn a whole lot of new things.
yeah, precisely that. I don't really listen to anything because I don't feel like the content is ever really gonna be produced, for
But
me.
sometimes I do wish that I thought of a podcast. One, I wish I was born 5 years ago than I really was, and then I wish I
Mm-hmm.
had started in 2012 or 2013 when podcasts
Mm-hmm.
weren't as popular, and then we could be like the tennis podcast and just be like the first one.
Yeah, I mean the sheer idea, I guess, of tennis podcasts is sort of allowing your listeners to catch up with something they probably didn't see, or like
Yeah,
give them your opinion on something that they well maybe watched but are like trying to comprehend more. Whereas yeah, if you just follow tennis like we do, usually it's gonna be pretty hard to sort of convince me to spend that hour listening to a show instead of well, I could listen to a show and watch tennis for sure, but
yeah.
when I don't really do that. I actually prefer, I don't know, music or
I guess I would say
whatever.
like, people like, for example, Matthew Willis, or like I guess
Yeah.
now Hugh Clark is doing it with his Thread of Order Substack.
Hmm.
Things like that are educational because it's like you just go
Yes.
all in on one match. I would also include Gilgrove's Monday Match Analysis because it's kind of the same idea, but just in video format, of where like you just go all in on one or two matches maybe, and you just do a deep dive, technical, tactical, and then that's where okay you can maybe like study specific stats, get into the nitty gritty, and then incorporate that in your analysis. And that's where you feel like you can even the diehards can learn new things.
Yeah, there's definitely a few people on Twitter who are very, very well versed in like yeah, technical, tactical analysis, and certainly lots more than I am. So
Yeah,
I do learn from that for sure. But even in general, like I have this challenger show, and theoretically it's very niche content, right? But I
yeah.
feel like I'm still directing it to people who watched less than me. So sort
Hmm.
of yeah, it's hard to find the content for yourself if you're like watching tennis every day for 8 hours. So
Yeah.
basically, yes. If you're watching tennis for 8 hours every day, probably most of the content isn't going to be all that interesting for you. Uh, but yeah, there's definitely still obviously a lot of like the base of knowledge we have about tennis is somewhat limited. There are certainly certain branches that we don't have whatsoever. And yeah, that was some good examples as well. Fred of Order, I can't remember how this guy is named, but yeah, Hugh Clark, right?
Good
Something like
Clark.
that.
Yeah.
Hugh
Yeah.
Clark, yeah. Yeah, I definitely like his stuff. And Matthew, of course, was great too when he was more active. Um, there's a couple more as well. There's this guy. Actually, there's let me tell you who he is. I think the nickname on Twitter is like just PM, and his handle is Annette Cord, and he
Oh,
just sort of
nice, nice.
talks about Nori,
He
Draper,
has a
Arthur
fun Nuri
Feli matches.
profile picture. I think yeah.
Hmm?
Is a picture of Cam Nori in the
Yes,
profile.
there's a picture of Cam
Yeah.
Nori, and I really like that account. I feel like reading his tweets, I learn a lot. This guy apparently only started like watching tennis like last year or something like that,
Yeah.
and he knows so much about like technique basically.
Yeah.
He has this huge. He can like have a huge thread on the Nori forehand, for example, and he's like 20 tweets in it. And yeah, actually when I read what he writes, I learn new things. When I'm not watching a match that he's watching, I can actually get some useful info from it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite accounts for sure now. And
That's a good
yeah,
shout.
well,
I actually did not think of that one. Um, there's
I,
also
I
another
am I
one.
am genuinely stunned like how much he knows after not being a tennis fan for forever, but just sort of learning it recently, more fairly recently.
Yeah. There's like Joseph. What's his name?
Yes,
Joseph West.
Joseph Warford or like what something like that. Yeah, I also
Yeah.
thought of him. Yeah, he. I think like they're very similar. To me,
Okay.
they're sort of like in the same category. When I think about them, I actually think about them often. As a
Okay.
couple of I'm not saying a couple romantically, but like I just often have them in the same sort of group when
Yeah.
I'm thinking of people because they sort of analyze very in a very similar style way. And I think also probably Joseph was also not like fully into tennis like that long ago. He's also like only focused on like a few certain players, and
Yeah.
he watches that mostly. But I think both guys are
That's
great,
true.
and
Yeah.
and
He's
yeah,
more of a Jessica Pegula, Daniel Medvedev.
Daniel Medvedev for sure. I think Elina Avanesian as well. After
Yeah.
Roland Garros, he became a fan of her. So yeah, both guys I really learn a lot from. And it might be only 3 or 4 players that they're like watching, on a regular basis. But that actually doesn't mean that they are the only ones that they're watching, right? They're also watching their opponents. So we can
Yeah.
also read what they wrote about the opponents. And yeah, Jane also noticing, yeah, it was too much. It was too much already. I'm going to a tournament next week, and I just couldn't stand the idea of showing up in that beard there.
Yeah.
So finally gone. I'm
How
gonna
does the
have
credential process work in challengers? Is it
um
fairly straightforward?
depends. Sometimes there's no press credential process whatsoever.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just basically write an email to someone. Sometimes it's even hard to find an email address. Like literally a couple of times already, I wouldn't have gone to an event if I didn't know a guy from the Challenger Tour and like texted him, can you give me some sort of contact info?
Yeah.
So it happens, and then it's really easy because then you just write an email, or sometimes on the website you're just going to have an email. But some bigger challengers, it happens that they have like accreditation forms and etc. And I've never been declined. I
Yeah.
don't think it really happens all that much. I know some challengers, like in Poland, have declined people, but I'm not sure for what reason. I personally have never been declined. I think most of the time, like 90% of them get in. Some challengers will have 50 journalists accredited, and sometimes you're going to have, I don't know, like in Helsinki when I was there 2 years ago, I was definitely the only four. Well, I think generally I have not met someone who wasn't, a foreign person to the country of the event while covering a challenger yet. But like in Helsinki, there were probably like 4 journalists for the whole event or something. Yeah, sometimes it happens like to this extent. And when you go abroad, you're gonna be the only guy from not from that country, like for sure. So generally speaking, it's really easy. I cannot speak, of course, for like America or Asia or Australia. I've never been um, outside of Europe, but yeah, hasn't happened to me that they would decline. And generally, it's either an email or just an accreditation form that, in most cases, seems like a throwaway. They just require it because they're probably obliged to or something, and yeah, they just don't really look at it anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I wish there were maybe some more jobs at the challenger level, but it's just
Hmm?
I wish there were maybe some more job things at the
Hmm.
challenger level, but it's just
As in, sort of.
roles on site.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think
statistically,
most
like,
events sort of run by themselves, right?
yeah,
And that's kind of needed too because you have 190 events rather than 40-ish on the ATP tour, right?
yeah.
So I can understand why it works like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, maybe in the future, the tour is definitely growing. So
There are some big ones in the U.S. Like there's one in Irvine, or there's one in
yeah, that's not an event anymore, I think, but it used to be. Yeah,
there's obviously like the Knoxville, Charlottesville,
yeah, that's end of the year. Phoenix from
Stanford,
2019, probably the biggest challenger in the world right now.
Phoenix, right? Yeah.
Yeah, with which is just its third edition this year, but it's one of the 175s. Newport Beach used to be a huge event, but it's not there anymore either. I think Dallas also not held, but it was also big. Dallas probably not held because it's now an ATP 250. But yeah, of course, the states. I mean, they pretty much hold a challenger
Yeah.
every single week.
I was seriously thinking about going to the Las Vegas one, but it got cancelled.
It got cancelled. Yeah, it was supposed to be this week, right?
It was, yeah, this was the week.
Yeah. A bit troublesome for the American players there because they actually didn't have one for 2 weeks now. Last week was planned, but now they were supposed to have Las Vegas. This is also the week where the American Wildcard Challenge, I think, for the Australian Open is starting.
Hmm.
So most players aren't really gonna gather any points this week, which is
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, Las Vegas, a shame as it was only cancelled like 3 weeks before or something. But yeah, that whole swing of Knoxville, Charlottesville, and whatever the third event is coming. What's the third event? I don't actually.
Drummondville, no, actually, I don't
That's in Canada. There's gonna be Calgary and Drummondville, yes, but there's also
know.
a third US event, I think. Let me check that. Champagne. Oh, Champagne. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, Champagne. Yes, yes, the one in Illinois.
Yeah. So
Okay.
from next week onwards, it's gonna be Charlottesville, Knoxville, and Champagne, and that's gonna be the end of it for for North America. Basically,
Mm,
the last 2 weeks, North America doesn't have a challenger.
gotcha.
6-5 Tsitsipas, and we haven't been talking about the match.
Yeah, there hasn't
Really,
been like that. I mean, this game went to deuce, and there were a couple of moments where it looked like team had the advantage on the backhand wing and
yeah.
deuce, but then he just
Generally speaking, the backhand wing, I mean the backhand rallies so far. Oh, sorry, Pepper. The backhand rallies so far have been really one-sided,
yeah,
but it hasn't been enough for Team to get some sort of a chance on that Tsitsipas. So maybe that's why Steph was that much of a favorite.
yeah.
We'll see in the tiebreak. Yeah, and other matches from Vienna are not going to be starting yet, right? It's going to be later on. It's going to be Dimitrov Musetti and Sonego Serundarom more or less at the same time. Are you particularly excited for either of these?
I mean, Musetti versus Dimitrov should be, some good kind of all court tennis and variety, and just you know, same style of opponents. But so yeah, I mean, there could be some interesting shots and rallies and backhands and stuff in that match. But um, so I think if you love one-handed backhands, then you got two of them back to back right here. So that's good for the crowds, I guess. But I think I might be able to stay on for some of that actually, looking at my schedule for today. We'll see.
Yeah, one-handed backhand's definitely shining here. Any
Yeah,
other one in Vienna today? Probably not. And in Basel, was there a one-hander? Lajovic, but he's already out.
this is her
And
touch.
Wawrinka later on. Wawrinka Shevchenko is probably what I'm gonna watch later today. Mm,
That should be a good one.
I think there might be
Oh,
some trouble coming there for Stan.
I was just
Basel.
thinking about Wawrinka. I forgotten. Oh yeah, it was because when we were talking about Echeverry, Echeverry, I immediately thought of Wawrinka
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
Wimbledon and U.S. Open matches.
Where's Owen? Yeah. If Owen was here, we wouldn't be saying that we love 100s. Yeah. And Lucy is back with Vamos Stefanos, which she also said at 7:53 a.m. today, and now at 6:27 p.m. Of course, I'm talking local Vienna time and also my local time, not Vansh's. So she's back after 11 hours to still wish good luck to Tsitsipas. And so far, I mean, so far it's just been a very even contest. It might hold up, that Thiem has played some of his best 2023 tennis against Tsitsipas. It's just a question of whether he actually wins this time.
Yeah,
Because I don't know if we mentioned that, but both times they played this year, it ended up in a deciding set tiebreak.
yeah, yeah. We mentioned that.
Probably did, yeah. And they're also tied in sets won in this rivalry at 15-all. So
Mm,
15-all, a very tennis-like score.
yeah,
And they can be 15-all in a game soon, but they can also be 15-all in terms of sets won. Although that's not going to hold up for long because someone is going to have a lead after this set. I think in terms of tie breaks, it was like 5-3 Tsitsipas or something.
that checks out. Yeah,
Yeah, I had to like manually count these yesterday, so that's why I know.
yeah. I mean, Tsitsipas got 2 wins in 2018, I guess, which is they already played each other half of their meetings
Five
were in 2018.
times, yeah,
It's
5 times in 2018, which is pretty insane. And at the time, Team was probably the favorite in all of them, given that
would
he
you say
was just
that
a player of
that was two of
higher.
Tsitsipas's most impressive runs? They both came uh, matches that he won against Team. Obviously,
Um,
in one of them, he actually didn't win the title, but he beat four top 10 players back to back. Back and
Tsitsipas or Team?
yes, it's a plus.
Tsitsipas, I would say Canada, right? In 2018, was
Yeah,
it
yeah,
that?
Canada
No.
2018 and then ATP Finals 2019. So like both of his best
Ah,
runs
yeah,
included a win over a team.
yeah. Is Apostolos Tsitsipas in the house? Yep, he is. And also, is it true Stefan he's bro in a doubles event? Yes. They were the first brothers to win an ATP Tour event since the Sabanovs over 2 years ago. And yeah, good stuff for Steph to sort of help his brother out. Although Petros is a very decent decent doubles player himself,
Yeah,
I feel like if he was like a bit taller, had a bigger serve, probably would have been potentially maybe even one of the best doubles players in the world at some point. But with his physicality, I don't know. But generally speaking, they've been getting a lot of wild cards over the past 3 years or so, and usually not doing too well. The quarters, I think, was their best result so far.
mm,
Before Antwerp, so they got over the line. They actually saved 2 match points against Arnaud and Weisborn in the semifinals, and then ended up winning the title as well over Bechar and Pavlasek. So great run for them. And Petros broke the top 100 with that one.
yeah. I think he's like around 90 right now. So that's
81 with the title. I think he was supposed to be at 90 with the final. So I think he went up to 81.
Tsitsipas misses two forehands actually to start this tiebreak. One of them he opened up the court nicely with a good serve, and it was kind of an easy +1, but he just sprayed it wide, and then this one it looked like he had some
Yeah.
trouble with his forehand, and so definitely not the start he was looking for.
And the sort of errors he cannot afford to be making.
You cannot, yes, especially when you don't break as often as he does, and the forehand and tie breaks, and that's really why he's had won the last two matches against teams. So been clutch in the breakers.
Yeah, I think he lost one at Wimbledon,
He
right?
did,
But
yes.
still, eventually. But now he finds a stupid forehand to get to 1-2. Yeah, after losing the last 2 points with pretty tame forehand unforced errors to hit one like that here,
Yeah,
that's great.
inside out. Yeah, that was.
I mean, this is an elite. This is an elite forehand after all.
Yeah.
And so was the guy on the other half on the other side of the net back in the day. Right
Yes.
now, wouldn't really place it in like the top 50 forehands. Definitely
No.
not. Probably not the top 100 really, which is a shame. Really, I wish I didn't say that, but kind of holds up. Although sometimes, that match against Nardi in Antwerp, the second set, when he really had the confidence in it, I
Yeah,
was still a sight to marvel
it
at.
comes back. It comes back in spells, but
Yes,
it's not the sustainable offensive weapon that it once was.
which kind of tells you that maybe it's not just, the fact that the injury ruined it. Like it kind of tells you that maybe it's still there and it might come back at
It's
some
more
point.
that PTSD from the wrist. Even if the pain goes away, I think mentally it's just so hard to overcome that.
Yeah, that's another error from Tsitsipas on the forehand side.
Yeah,
This
it's kind
this
of mixed
was
bags
this was
with
a
that.
weird one. I mean, the footwork was off, the stroke production was off, everything was off basically, and
Yeah,
team gets the mini break back. So 3-2 now, and two serves for the Austrian, the home crowd favorite.
yeah. When you have when you have the sort of game that Tsitsipas has, these type of errors can be very costly because yeah, he doesn't have the built-in margin that he should um, in some cases.
Tries to go back and down the line and misses it. So 4-2 up for team. They're showing some guy on the screen. I should know who he is, but I don't. And yeah, this Tsitsipas back and down the line. Anytime I see this, I get reminded of that Canada run that we just
Oh yeah,
discussed, because it was actually pretty great there. And there's a famous hot shot. I think it was against Nola, but I'm not sure. But there's a famous back and down the line that Tsitsipas hit there. And yeah, in 2018-19, I think we talked about it on the fields match, right? That in 2018-19 it wasn't like considered such a huge weakness.
yeah. I mean, 2018, 2019 is when. This is where I sort of wonder, like, do you think the elbow injuries and the wrist injuries could be playing? Sorry, not wrist, elbow and shoulder could be playing a little bit of a factor in the fragility of that one-hander.
I think we also touched it last time that not something I can really have that much of an opinion on, since I'm not Steph's doctor, but yeah, it seems like a plausible explanation. Yeah, definitely some of the worst injuries for a tennis player, given how they can just totally screw up your stroke production, basically. Oof,
I
team
guess no
tries to
one
approach
really
the
talks
net,
about
and
them.
if
I guess no
he's
one really talks about them
uh-huh.
when they bring up Tsitsipas because he hasn't really missed many tournaments because of them. Like he's still
Yeah,
been playing and kind of managing it.
basically in tennis we only talk about injuries when players are out for like 6 months or so.
Yes.
When it's just when they're playing through it, they most often get forgotten with time, which is also natural because you're never going to have like a when you're just glancing through players records, you're not going to see injuries if they didn't retire or like withdraw
Yeah.
from 5 events in a row.
And sometimes it can also happen like in
Mhm.
November, and then you have an off season
Yeah, true. And
where
then you
you can get
also,
surgery. And I mean that's what happened to Tsitsipas in 2021.
yeah, then also no
He
one
had
remembers that
two
because
times.
it's not like specified.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and a couple of wild points here. First, Tsitsipas actually hitting a pretty decent short slice to make Team
Yes.
lose his timing a little bit when he was running into the net. Didn't make the half volley, and then the next point was probably a big chance missed
Yeah.
from
Huge chance for
Domi.
team. Yeah. Huge chance.
Yeah,
For team. He had a lot of the court there, and
Netcourt helping him out, and then he has like a lot of the open space to pass Tsitsipas, but he misses the backhand, and now he is actually 5-4 down with two serves on his side, but still he is 4-5 down, and
yeah.
Tsitsipas just found an inside out +1 forehand that was very clean.
Hmm.
Team does win the next point though, so we are really at crunch time now. 5-all. Someone is gonna have a set point, and both guys winning the last couple of points with just +1 forehand winners, looking extremely confident. Probably not too safe, given that they were both pretty low margin shots, but they made it look safe.
Yeah. Although, did you see that pass from Stefanos? Anticipating the his team didn't do completely enough with the volley, but it set up just enough for Tsitsipas
Yeah,
down. And
yeah. I mean, this is on Team's volley, honestly.
yeah,
He approached to that Tsitsipas backhand as you should. I mean, probably credit to Steph for not slicing it, but just
yeah, but he needed to
trying.
be more clinical with the put away.
But yeah, yeah, it's just on Team's volley here, really. The execution of that, um, just the drop volley wasn't short enough, wasn't slow enough. If he even played it in the other corner, it didn't have to be a drop. It could have been just a. But that might lose in the set right here.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good point right here. But eventually, team overcooks the backhand, and good job from Steph, really, like spreading the court with his forehand
Yeah.
From the outside. And
Yeah, I'm still watching it, but certainly a few. Oh yeah, and that I would actually maybe even classify as a forced error. Like he actually
yeah,
struggled to get
I
to that
would
after.
too, because it was so deep, and it
Yeah,
was
it was deep and it was a long rally. He was actually like sort of struggling to get to that. He was a bit out of position when hitting it.
yeah,
And yeah, even the Tsitsipas backhand held up really well in this rally. He was able to get out of it, so that's why it held up. But no, I'm actually saying that
yeah,
when he
and I
when
mean,
he
and
when he
that's
had to
really
hit it
all
on a
it
few
needs to do
occasions, it was
against
it was
most
really good, really.
players.
Yeah,
Against most players, he will be okay if it just holds up. Like
yeah,
it's not something that
holds up, and
will
he eventually gets to his
be
inside
enough.
out, and that's fine. Like that's literally what he did here. Also, a nice sharp angle on one of these cross court as well, when he
Yeah.
had Team deep to his
I,
forehand
I've
corner, and
noticed
I
when you
feel
get
like
him into a rhythm and you get into cross court exchanges and he's kind of set in the ad corner,
it's gonna be fine.
it's
Yeah,
going to be fine because he might even generate some good pace of his own. He might even
yeah.
push you behind the baseline. It's just when he's in a compromised position, when he's in a defensive position where
That's
he's having to
probably
defend.
why Djokovic
It's,
doesn't want to play him like that, right? Like he
yes,
doesn't want to just keep going through his backhand, and that's smart. But at the same time, you sort of need to be equipped to handle the fire coming at you from
yeah,
the
yeah.
other
And
side.
I mean
So
that's something that Djokovic does so well is he's able to neutralize the best forehands in the game. I mean we saw
yeah,
that time and time again with Del Potro. Uh,
so that's why it's
and
only really a tactic for him,
and he
maybe
really kind of
even
dares them,
no
and he's
one
like,
else.
you know what, my forehand is better. I'm gonna I'm gonna challenge it, and it works a lot of the times because his own
It
cross court
works every
forehand.
time against Tsitsipas or Rublev, really. I mean, I know he's lost to Tsitsipas twice, but it was literally in the first three matches that they played.
Yeah,
So since he started using that strategy more, he hasn't lost and hasn't even been close to losing, you could say. Well, I guess Paris last year, like, right, was pretty close.
in those two
And
matches, I remember being actually like impressed with Steph's one hander down the line. I was like,
two
okay,
matches,
for
as
those,
in
yeah, the two matches he won against
the
Norway.
two matches he won, yeah. Canada, we mentioned, right, that he
Yeah,
was hitting it really well there, yeah.
but yeah, it, it's not something like team has that shot, but set to a T where you just know at any point in time he'll just rip it line and
Oh, yeah. I have to change the banner to indicate that Tsitsipas has won the first set, 7-6. Honestly, a little uh, disappointing for team for sure, because up
yeah.
until 5-all, they were just
I would
fair and
point to
square.
the volley that he didn't put away,
Yeah.
and then also the net court point where it just seemed like he had a lot of time to go for that pass, and he should have found a way to make it.
And I guess that's also a bit of a team issue from the past, right? Where even when he has like a shorter ball or is trying to pass, he sort of just goes for the usual swing. He cannot make it a little more compact and just
Mm.
drives the whole back end. And then, well, back in the day, Team used to be like the worst passer in the sport, probably relevant, sort of
Yeah. Mm.
relating to his actual level, you know. So like,
So like even in 2020, I remember the final against Medvedev. It was break point in the second
mhm.
set. I'm talking about the ATP finals,
Uh-huh.
2020,
Yeah, I figured, yeah.
and then he has all day to make this forehand pass, and he just does not make it. And it's like, I mean, if he wins that point, he probably serves out the title. I mean, he would have been 2 holes away. And it was one of those kamikaze Medvedev serve and volley attempts because he wasn't really winning from the back of the court. And once he didn't put away that forehand, it got very complicated for him after that. And this was obviously the same tournament where he beat both Nadal and Djokovic on the way, and Tsitsipas. Those were his 3 wins, getting to the final.
Yeah, I think in the past it'd be a pretty big problem for Team. It's just the fact that yeah, he just played the same stroke every single time, regardless of it if it was a passing shot, near the net, or if it was 3 meters behind the baseline. Which actually, another Bresnik protege in Shevchenko used to have it too. He sort of does still, but it's a bit of an interesting tie-in. But yeah, thank you, Nicolaus, for the nice words as usual. Is it better for Steph to not play doubles? I don't think we have any evidence of
Yeah,
that. He was decent in Antwerp, really. He's just sort of killed him with the spin-heavy forehand. I think doubles can also help him maybe improve his backhand return, not necessarily the block return, which would probably be the best thing that Tsitsipas can actually find for that shot, but just driving through it. So yeah, I think it's fine for him to play doubles. I don't think it hurts him.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, he's not. It's not like he's playing it every single week anyway. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think it's why he lost in Antwerp. No.
yeah. I think the second time he's won the doubles. We've gone very deep in the doubles, and then lost to the semis and singles. There was also Acapulco last year where he won the title with Lopez.
Yeah, he won the title with Lopez, and he also had that Indian Wells final years ago that we
In Miami.
uh, Miami, yeah, with
Yeah, he was playing with
Wesley
Wesley
Kopov.
Kovalev. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
got to the final, and then
So third final for Stefanos in Antwerp last week in terms of the doubles, and first, of course, for Petros. Here in Vienna, Tsitsipas, as Nikolaus sort of noted, is not playing. He's not playing doubles here.
yeah. Tsitsipas, of course, does have a pretty decent record against one-handers overall. I guess that's just because of the
Mhm.
Dimitrov matchup.
how is he in the Dimitrov matchup? I actually don't know.
Like 6-1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's huge.
But it honestly it could have been 4-3 because you look at the last 2 meetings. One was a third set tiebreak in the United Cup this year,
Ah, yeah, this one.
and
Okay,
then
I
there was
remember
also
this one.
I remember also the Rome match last year where actually Tsitsipas was serving for a 6-3 6-4 win, and then Dimitrov breaks him back and then has some match points of his own and deep in the third, and Steph found a
Yeah,
way.
I just realized that I barely remember any Tsitsipas Dimitrov matches. But yeah, now that I look at the
It was
head-to-head, of course, it
actually the one
was
time that Dimitrov beat him was here in Vienna in 2020.
2020. Yeah, Tsitsipas has actually played Vienna 3 times so far, and every time he's winning his first round and losing in the second.
Yeah,
So that's why they played twice in Vienna, Tsitsipas and Dimitrov, and
yeah,
Dimitrov won in the second round and Tsitsipas won in the first round. But yeah, actually, I remember now that Tsitsipas in 2022 and Dimitrov, it was a big story at some point during the clay season, right? Because they were playing against each other every week, and
yes.
Tsitsipas was winning every time. Yeah. John took a beating on the tennis court today. So was it the usual opponent, or was it someone else? Because I guess against the usual opponent you wouldn't really took a beating, probably, unless you're saying took a beating and it was actually a tight match, which could also work. I mean, and Holger Rune is down a set to Kecmanovic, and he's not just down a set; he's 1-6 down.
Wow.
He has 2 games already in the second, and they are on
I sort of
serve.
wonder why Holger hasn't called it a season at this point.
I mean, I don't think we need to wonder. Paris title defense, and he is number 8 in the ATP finals race. So,
Sure, but I
uh,
just mean from the standpoint of I don't know if he's healthy.
he claims he is.
Yeah, that it's
His
just
new
really
coach Boris
surprising. Isn't
Becker
the
is
blue
not with
sets
him.
this one-sidedly like the one against Nakashima, and then now this one? It's just
Yeah,
it's much worse than you would have thought. Even if there's a bit of rust, and
I don't know if Paris defense comes into it or not, but I think being number 8 in the ATP race is what's keeping him there.
yeah,
He actually did not play the ATP finals last year. He
he said
went
he was
in
healthy.
as
He said he
the.
was healthy before Beijing. Like he
I
did
know, I
say it
know.
very explicitly, and then he went and beat Felix 4-4, which I
And it
mean,
was a good match. He was
yeah,
serving well. He never really gave Felix any looks.
hmm,
Loses to Dimitrov, I guess not a great performance, but it wasn't physically like not a great performance. Like he was
yeah.
actually
He
still
was actually
playing pretty
alright in
well. He was fighting
Beijing.
for it. I remember the last few games were really tense, and like he made it tough for Grigor to close him out.
By the way, it's break point for team. To
Yeah,
try
this
to go
plus one
2-1.
forehand from Steph flying out.
Saved
So
with
that would be the first opportunity that we have this match.
first break point for either player. Yeah,
Yeah.
saved with a first serve out wide and a forehand swing volley in the open court.
Actually, a pretty tough drive as well.
Yeah,
I guess the best option definitely, because if you let it bounce, it would have been fairly uncomfortable too. But yeah, ballsy shot to go for here. Team not pleased with the quality of his return, I guess, because otherwise I'm not sure what he
mm.
would be complaining about in this
Wow.
position.
So Steph actually got the forehand that he wanted there, and he had a really nice inside in. Um, and then he chose to go behind team, go back cross court, but pulls it wide. Interesting. He cut that one really fine.
Yeah, would have been a great point if it gone in, but certainly not the highest of margins, even on that inside in earlier. Another opportunity for team for the hometown hero, sort of hometown.
Oh, wow. He actually got a lot on that backhand pass down the line. I mean, he sort of hit that open stance on the one hander. But this
Haven't
time,
seen it yet, but usually you would think you're. I mean, usually I would think you're talking about team, but because
yes,
of
yes,
the way
I'm
you've.
talking about team because he's
Oh,
like the
you
only
are actually
one that
talking
can
about
really
team.
do this.
Okay. Ah, okay, and then it's Steph cleaning up the volley. But yeah, that's the usual team shot, right?
Yeah,
when he's in that sort of position, like that's the one pass that
mm,
he really has in his arsenal, and it's ridiculously good
yeah.
in this position. Not enough, but still.
You actually need to have a really strong wrist, like to be able to pull that off, or at least
Yeah,
really good timing and like balance. It's much easier for a two-hander to do, and even that is really difficult. Like I even marvel when two-handers do it. So
yeah.
I
Of the one handers we have on the tour right now, team is certainly like the one where, the one you think about when you see a shot like that.
yeah,
Not that we have that many one-handers on the tour right now, but
yeah. But we do sort of have your, like we do have like four in the top 30, I guess, with like Musetti and Evans and Dimitrov and Tsitsipas, of course.
Yeah, Shapovalov no longer in the top
No
30.
longer there. No, no, he's like 90 now, which is as Jose Morgado pointed out on Twitter.
Slajovic is in the top 50 as well. Or like
Yeah,
close to the top 50. Wawrinka is definitely in the top 50. The younger one-handers, Lajovic and Wawrinka. If we are going to be left with a future where Giovanni Impecci Pericard has to save one-handed backhand tennis, then that's not great because his one-hander is a massive weakness. So his one-handed backhand weakness is almost as massive as his own
he
serve.
held
So
up against Goffin.
I don't know. Yeah, when he has time on it, it's pretty good. When he can hit through it, it's good. But when he just doesn't, it's shank, 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 shank. Oh, Daniel Altmaier is also in the top 50.
Yeah. But Altmaier's forehand.
Denis Shapovalov, I guess, is still in the top 50 though, but he will drop down after Vienna to number 92, maybe even lower if some players manage to exceed him. Yeah, because of course Shapovalov was the finalist in Vienna last year, losing
Wow.
to Daniel Medvedev, the only player to take a set of Daniel at that tournament.
Tsitsipas serving and volleying on the second serve.
Ooh,
A good idea, but this time Thiem actually gets to it and pulls off a really good two-shot pass combination.
nice. Sort of, it was good how he didn't blast through that first pass, but just sort of
Yeah,
did it, slowly with thought, with precision,
he's
and
pretty good at sliding up to those.
yeah,
Even on a hard court, he's pretty able to get full range on the defense. Of course, the two
Kamuring
most
there.
famous points that come to mind were at 5-all in the third of the Indian Wells final that he won against Federer in 2019, where he just got up to both those drop shots and was able to pull off those passes.
Because that's a lot since, yeah.
Uh, wow, when's another point off of the overhead? Looks like Tsitsipas is unhappy about something. Was that
Yeah, I'm seeing it now, and he sort of looked in the direction of the umpire or the crowd before hitting that smash. I'm not sure what the point was. He's looking up as well. Maybe he thought it was the same situation as earlier, but apparently not. But yeah, before hitting that smash, he looked at the direction of the umpire and then, got back to playing the point. And of course, the smash was not um, up to his usual standard. What was the expression last time that you said you wanted to like not avoid in your commentary, but not overuse as much?
he it's like because we kept on saying, oh, Feast is asking the right questions, Tsitsipas had the answer, or something like that. Yeah, it's like player A asks the question and player B responds,
Asking the question. Yeah,
asking
asking
the
the
question
question.
and
Yeah,
answering. It's like
that was. I guess
it's
we
so
haven't said it
is
that much
cliche.
today.
Yeah, yeah.
Mostly because no one has been asking questions in terms of the service games in the opening
I
set.
don't know. It's like yeah, it's very like redundant.
Yeah, yeah. When you do it like on every single big point in the Smash games, and
Yeah.
it becomes too much at some point. So team has asked a lot of questions in this game. And so far, I mean, Tsitsipas is still struggling to respond, I suppose. That was an interesting point as well. Was that a sneak attack by Dominic?
Oh,
Sort of. I guess you could call it that, a saved.
the safety.
I also saw someone recently describe this sort of play as reap and charge instead of chip and charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it was gonna be a different opponent, Johnson's. 6-4, 6-1. You were pretty competitive in the first set, but then you faded away physically. I wonder if that's what's gonna happen in our match in whatever year we're gonna host it in.
We always get a first set tiebreak, don't we? It's just our thing.
Oh right, I forgot about that. Yeah, and this time it wasn't really close
I
to
mean, all
that.
the men's matches we've done at least. I mean,
Yeah,
relegation.
because on the women's you're gonna have a tiebreak like what 10 times less or
Yeah.
whatever. If someone has that, that must be a good stat too. I mean, the percentage of tiebreaks in women's matches to men's matches at the top of the sport, but I'm pretty sure the difference is massive.
Yeah, you would expect significantly less.
I mean,
But I
this
guess
year, Mhm.
you mean in terms of the whole season or just like which matches?
Percentage wise, I was thinking of it, but the whole season would work too. I mean, there's a similar number of matches, on both sides. Percentages would probably be more clear though. I mean, this year I think we got the first ever 7-6, 6-7, 6-7 or something like that much in the slams, right? For the women's or something like that. Was it Alexandrova playing Brango at
Was it?
Wimbledon, maybe? Or
Uh,
maybe it.
yeah. Was it? What was the score of Fernandez against Alexander? I feel
And
like
I
that.
think, yeah, I think they repeated that later, yeah, at the US or Roland Garros. Was it earlier? No, I can't remember. But I think it happened twice this year, and before that it didn't happen for like years. At slams, of course, though, just the four events. But on the men's side, three tie breaks. They do happen quite often. Is the women's serve an advantage? It still is. A serve is a more high percentage shot than your return, I guess. Although it could get a little twisted if just like that first strike, um, ability of your return is gonna be a factor. But I think for the most part, it's definitely still an advantage. We have some wonderful serves on the WTA side as well.
I hope that Ash Barty shows some young girls her magic on the serve because
Yeah.
that thing is just special for 5'5" to serve like the way she did. I mean, you realize it even more when she's retired. That like, I mean, to be because it's not just the placement. Like she really has all serves really covered. It's like
Yeah, what would be the equivalent of that on the men's side,
yeah,
sort of,
it would be like
someone
if
who's
Schwartzman had the kind of serve that Barty had, which is just like
yeah, and out of the players that we have, who's
yeah.
someone who's pretty small and has an excellent serve.
I mean, there's some like that are 6 foot. I guess that would maybe qualify, but
Vatanuki, but yeah, I guess I would be looking for someone smaller than that.
yeah,
Mattia Bellucci, maybe. Um,
5'9". I mean, what's there?
the first serve of Mattia Bellucci, although I think there a lot of that is just lefty angles, so it's not as easy as so it's a little easier than for someone like Barty, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bellucci is someone who comes
Dan
to mind
Evans?
for me.
No, I guess not.
Um,
But I mean, he does have he does
he
hit
does have
serve,
a pretty
so
good serve, yeah. Um,
he does
is
get
it
a lot out of it.
much better than his height would suggest, though? I guess maybe a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 foot. It's probably how tall is Stan?
Stan, yeah, Stan was the
Yeah,
person that came
I
out.
was gonna I was gonna say that.
The
Yeah,
It was
that
a massive force for his.
6 foot. It's probably like Vatanuki, Vavrinka right now. These guys. Uh,
Yeah,
Wawrinka's first serve definitely a bit underrated, given how most of the time we just talk about like his thumping power of the ground strokes and mostly his backhand as well, which was always a little overrated probably in his arsenal.
Wawrinka, yeah, it's
Yeah,
when the
just
forehand.
because it's flashier,
Yeah,
but it's not
Mm,
the bread and butter that wins him the points most of the time. Ooh, this definitely isn't the bread and butter of team here with the plus
mm,
one inside out forehand going way wide, and it's gonna
yeah,
be the
that
first
is
break point for Steph now.
that might be the end of this match. Although you never know, but it's mm, I guess it kind of predictable when you looked at how the end of the last game panned out. In the
Oh,
sense
did
that,
did he put that one out as well? Oh no.
yeah,
That was really close though. That wasn't like the previous one, but it's here he had a lot of open space on that
yeah,
Tsitsipas forehand corner. Yeah, a couple of just wilder forehand plus ones here. The
yeah.
tie break when he
It's the
had
kind of
these
forehand
two
that
big
he's not
points.
as
Yeah.
his prime on the big points like this. It used to be so reliable, especially because he got the ball that he wanted. I mean, Tsitsipas's return barely landed just outside the service box, so it was still quite.
Nadal is 5'11".
Who is Rafa? Rafa is 6'1".
Yeah, 6 foot plus for sure.
Rafa and Federer are the same height, 6'1".
I think Rafa is a tiny bit taller, but and the
Oh, really? Yeah, I guess I can kind of see it when you've seen them stand together at match.
yeah, but in the food system, it often sort of goes unnoticed probably, and
Djokovic is listed at 6'2". I mean, actually, Sitter is listed at 6'2", but I think he's taller than that. I think when he filled out the form, he was not fully grown. That's just me.
yeah, obviously when the players do it, it's always going to have some people just
But it does
adding
show
some height
something
to
that
them and
the best players,
feeling this out in different moments. Yeah.
the best players in the world are generally 6'1" to 6'4". I mean,
They
you
used to
obviously
be
have
six.
Medvedev.
They
You
used to
obviously have
be
Medvedev as well.
6'1". They used to be 6'1". It was considered the best height for tennis, but I think now it's gonna drift like one
Oh yeah, I
inch
mean
or
now
two
it's getting taller
inches
because I mean
more.
you have Medvedev, Zverev, Hurkacz, Hachanov. They're
Yeah.
all 6'5" plus.
Oh, and I see we're gonna have the score now, so I can stop updating the banners, which I stopped at now. Say 7-6 to 1. Yeah, I think it's gonna change because basically, the players that are taller now, they're moving just as well as the guys who are smaller. Hurkacz, Medvedev, Zverev, they definitely outshine like players of the past who were almost 2 meters tall. So while I in the past it was considered like 6'1" is the best because after that you probably have some movement disadvantages. Now these disadvantages probably don't show up until like what 6'4", 6'5". So
Yeah,
uh, yeah, I think this definitely is going to change. But of course, the whole society is also um, rapidly adding height. I guess, rapidly getting taller, which is a shame for me. I wish I was like an inch taller. But I guess I don't have to play tennis professionally, so it's fine. I think a lot of the time these flatter serves that I have would be going in if I had one more inch to my to me. On the other hand, in some other sports it could be an advantage, right? Maybe I'm gonna start doing a luge, or well, I don't know if actually in luge it's an advantage. Probably, well, maybe not. That wasn't a good example. What's a sport where height is a huge disadvantage? Gymnastics? I don't know. I'm guessing.
Like taller the better.
No, I'm thinking of a sport where it's smaller. The smaller, the better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like,
I don't
yeah. Okay.
know, but there is certainly something I'm not coming up with right now.
Is it ever written in
Um,
English? I mean, I can't think of one.
no, it's not. I thought it was in something.
Mm,
Ski jumping. I guess
Horse.
height is not exactly the thing. You just need to weigh less. Horse racing, maybe. Yeah. Yes.
Maybe NASCAR if you're too tall to fit in the.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah,
I mean,
usually going
I'm
for the
not that small anyway, but like I would like 1 inch more. Yeah.
like,
If there was like a goldfish,
are there
trying
any
to.
F1 drivers that are like 7 foot? I don't
Probably not. I don't think so. F1 and basketball are isn't the most usual combination. Yeah, team really losing the plot here now. Gets Manovic up a set and a break on Rune.
Yeah. Let's see.
Second week in a row. That would be pretty brutal. Ooh, Mute Per, by the way, that's a match. I'm probably gonna watch that after Team and Tsitsipas are done. There must be some craziness going on there and like chaos.
Speaking
I
of
don't know if.
Mute pair.
Huh?
Speaking of Mute pair, I knew that Brendan was going to beat Gasquet.
Oh, I guess guy, yeah. He crashed him pretty much.
Yeah. I was
I mean,
surprised when he lost to him in Winston
mhm.
Salem after the winning the first set so comfortably.
Where did he lose to him?
Winston Salem.
Winston Salem this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gasquet right now is like very far actually off the ATP Tour level, which might sound like a heresy, but
He was
I
very
know
good
he's
at
won
Winston
it.
Salem. And then
In
he
Winston
played
Salem, yes, but like I know he's
when,
won the ATP 250 at the beginning of the season, and
yeah.
since no, I mean he has declined quite a lot. That title is one of the most random ones I think in years. Like
Probably
getting Cam Nori, who was so choked up because he was playing at home and etc., and then getting a walkover in the semis from Lestien, and also what earlier, like there was João Souza, Kiran Palpanu maybe, and Goffin, I think in the quarters.
mm.
I don't know if that's actually right. Maybe I missed maybe I missed one player or something, but
Absolutely stunning though that Monfils and Gasquet both won titles. I guess Monfils is also very
Monfils is really there with the level. Like he's really there. He
yes
for the
since
last
Canada.
2 months. Yeah, since Canada, since the even Washington, maybe you could even go there.
Yeah,
Um,
Washington actually. Why didn't I mention that? Because he beat Eubanks there.
yeah, he beat Fratangelo in the first round, and I think Eubanks and then someone. Well, beating Eubanks is no, yeah.
I mean, now it's considered. Yeah, I guess.
It's not anymore. Like this is gone already. Now beating Eubanks is just like the
I mean, he's
norm.
just losing tight matches. Like he
I
lost.
know, but like with his
It's
serve, he's not gonna be
just back to
demolished by
the. It's
anyone.
just. I guess it's just back to sort of. It's a leveling off. I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think this time next year, Eubanks is gonna be like barely in the top 100, and Vukic is probably gonna be outside the top 100. But that's enough topic. Monfils, yeah, since Washington, maybe even Atlanta, he played a fine match against Tanasi there. Basically, like a top 20, 30 player,
Mm-hmm.
which
Eubank.
is
It must be
Esterepa
so awesome
Casquete.
though to be Christopher Eubanks right now. Like if I were to be one player on the tour, I'd
Hmm.
want to be Christopher Eubanks just because like you make 1.3 million this year. You're already beloved so much for your commentary. and you just know that any point you lose in an event, or you just you have some time, you can just go and commentate, and then just
I would
kind
like
of
to
get
be
to
Novak
know.
Djokovic.
Well, okay, yeah, but I'm talking
No,
like
no,
a
I know what
realis-
you mean.
a realistic sort of
Um,
player to look up to, I guess.
yeah, I guess you could probably find some others who like don't really have to do all that much until the end of the season for it to be considered successful. But yeah, that's fair. Maybe like a Struff or a Jari as well could work.
Yeah.
Although
Well,
Struff, you're
well,
gonna be
Steve is
having
very, very
nightmares about that
intense.
that ATP title that you haven't won.
Yeah,
Everyone is gonna ask you that in press conferences.
it is.
So yeah, probably not Struff.
Yeah. By the way, like there's, I mean, Julian Benneteau not having won a title is,
Yeah, 10 finals.
think about it, because he was top 25. He made a major quarterfinal. He beat the big three all once.
Yeah, I think honestly, like the way you put it right now, I think he's probably okay with it now. Uh, because he has so many achievements, right? Like, does
No,
this
it's
one ATP
ridiculous. Like,
title actually matter all that much? I'm pretty sure it did
no,
at the time.
it's one of those things. Like, it's just nice to have. It's like
It's
it's
good to
like how
have it,
it's like
but
how Kerber
if you
hasn't won a
think of
1,000 yet. Like, it's just one of those stats. It's like it doesn't really matter because she's won three majors and been number one and has an Olympic silver medal and has a title on all surfaces, but she hasn't won a Masters.
no, that doesn't matter whatsoever.
Right.
If you have
I think it's kind of the same thing with Beneteau, because it's like if you have those other things, like are those many of those things are already greater than a title.
at least in his case, they are it's questionable whether they are better than the title. In his case, they are actually questionable, whereas in hers, no.
I guess. Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, generally, someone with that CV has one, so it's just
Yeah, but like
considerable.
Islam is obviously like unarguably better
And if
than
you
a
have like a
thousand
slam
title.
quarterfinal, and then you have like
That's
your second
still
week
arguable. Like I think it's still arguable. It's something that someone
yeah,
can potentially try to compare and come up with different
sure.
outcomes. So I think it's not as obvious, but yeah, for me, if I think about it now, probably after a few years, Beneteau should be more okay with it because yeah, he has a lot of great other achievements, and after all, it's pretty good to be in the history books. Julien Beneteau wins one ATP title, and he's not in the history books, whereas now he's actually the record holder. It's an infamous record.
Is that what
It's
you
Vi-
want? But yes,
yeah, it's Vince
it is.
Padilla again, but
It's, it's like what Rublev has with the slam quarterfinals.
yeah, and Vince Padilla with the 21 losing streak at the ATP level, and also there's what else was there? Had one other example. Oh, Tsitsipas with the ATP 500s.
Yeah, yeah.
For a while, Liam Brody with Challenger finals.
Felix with the over nine before.
Yeah, Felix for a while as well. He was actually on his way to catch Beneteau.
Yeah,
And Julien Beneteau right now is probably like very well known to tennis fans just because, yeah, he has that record and it gets talked about pretty often. At least it did when Felix was getting close. So I think a lot more people know Julien Beneteau at the moment than they actually would if he was just a random 25 ranked player, from the previous eras. I'm struggling to find a comparison because the only other player that came to me who also had a career high of 25 I think was Chela, and he's probably still well known because of coaching Schwartzman and now Juan Macerundolo. But if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't really be mentioning him. And he also had a slam quarter, I think. Whereas yeah, Beneteau still gets talked about quite a lot because yeah, he has that record of sorts.
for sure.
Anyway, Team actually is getting out of his issues here, probably. But, well,
Yeah,
the main question is going to be whether he can break. Managed to play some nice points finally after, yeah, the first two rallies here in this game. It seemed like he's just totally lost mentally at the moment.
Mhm.
Still fighting. Maybe the crowd sort of helps him here and he finds an ace to get back to 2-3. But still Tsitsipas with a chance to win the match if only he can hold 3 more times.
Yeah, so Thiem has lost his last 11 against top 10 players.
Yeah, since ATP finals.
Yeah, so this would be his 12th if he doesn't break here. Yeah, since the ATP finals 2020. Yeah.
And the last 2 losses were against Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Mm-hmm. So Stefanos, if he wins, who is awaiting him in the next round? Is it
I
Mahaj?
talk Mahaj.
Yeah,
I think Mahaj beats either of these guys.
Mahaj is in really good form right now. I think he can actually pull it off.
He sucked in the Stockholm qualies, but then recovered for the main event. Probably should have beaten Jere, but Jere actually played a great game when Mahaj was serving for it in the quarters. But yeah, the way he played with Jere until midnight in Stockholm, then shows up in Vienna, destroys Rodionov, Rusevori, and Vukic, probably the least impressive win of the three, maybe even at the moment, despite the rankings. And but yeah, still does it, with this sort of business mode, only losing serve once, I think, only not allowing any of them more than 4 games in a set. I do think that he has a fantastic chance against Tsitsipas. He can rush his backhand any time he wants. He is excellent at hitting on the rise. And yeah, it looks like he's gonna be, I don't know, top 50 next year. Seems like a very reasonable target for him, given that he's not defending all that much in the first half of the season next year. He basically has all of his points indoors last year and this year. Of course, he's gonna drop a pretty significant chunk of them still. I remember he won, was it Helsinki that he won last year? Well, he definitely played Ridi in the final. I think it was Helsinki. But so he's still dropping some points, but there's a big chance that if he just manages to sort of level with them, then the first half of 2024 could be amazing for him.
I don't know who's going to get that eighth spot at the ATP finals. I think Hurkacz would. I think he has a good chance just given where the others are at.
And also looking at the Basel draw, like if Hurkacz can get through Struff and then the Minor potentially, he
He's my
becomes the
favorite. Yeah,
massive favorite to win the tournament, I think.
yeah. I definitely think he can
It,
qualify.
it's the second round and the quarters that are pretty tough. I think Struff, that's going to be a serve-based matchup. Who knows who wins this? And also the Minor in the quarters. I think that's pretty tough. What's the matchup history of Hurkacz the Minor? I'm actually not sure whatsoever. But I have to check that.
Yeah.
But after that, if he gets through it, I think he would be really likely to win the title, and then he becomes like a serious candidate. But if he doesn't win Basel, then I think Fritz is probably the most likely. Um,
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
doubt it's gonna be Rude. I doubt it's gonna be Rude.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's one
And
all between
Ronan.
Hurkacz and Divinor, but they haven't played each other since Madrid in 2019.
Okay,
So
that's why I don't remember
yeah,
any of their
literally,
matches. Yeah,
yeah, they haven't played in over 4.5 years. Actually, yeah, there's also the stat that Hurkacz never faced Rafa, and he might never.
I mean, 99% he won't. He never will really.
Yeah, I guess for a
Given
while,
where
Divinor also had this stat where he'd never faced Djokovic
who?
until Divinor had never played Novak until this year.
Oh yeah, Rublev has never played. Or had never played someone also
Yeah, Novak, but then that just evaporated very quickly.
for a while, right? It was also a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for Rublev now it's obviously Alcaraz. That's the one that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I guess maybe there is a chance that next year Nadal plays Hurkacz if Nadal just plays a few events in the clay season, and
Yeah.
well, he's not going to be seeded for them, so
Mm.
that's a sick backhand down the line from Thiem, but of course it might be too late for the Ferdi Tsitsipas, so it does keep him alive in this game.
So
What's the count of backhand down the line winners in this match from Thiem? I don't know, like
I think
8?
four of them at
Yeah,
least that I can remember.
probably like 6, 7.
Oh, like I mean, you mean winners or you mean just like winners
Winners or
or
shots that won him the point,
okay, yeah, yeah.
basically. Yeah,
Then like, I can think of three or four winners, but then if you add up,
yeah. Like
then it would be
I'm
six.
thinking of like winners or points which basically won him the point. Shots that basically won him the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like point yielding shots. I don't know.
Service winners is sometimes a useful stat to have, I think,
Yeah,
as opposed to just aces, because it's like I mean, a service winner is just as good as an ace. It's just
yeah.
not as.
There's no difference.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So I think that.
And a lot of the time, your number of aces also depends on what your opponent is doing, where
Yeah,
he's standing, how he's trying to return.
it's a hugely
Um,
different thing to ace, like a Monfils or a Medvedev than it is to ace.
yes,
Let's say I don't know.
down to
Who's,
ace. Leandro
who's an
Ridi.
easy guy to ace? I think Tiafo is a easier guy to ace because he just kind of hugs people.
I said Ridi. I don't know if that actually holds up, but just was looking for someone who stands really close to the baseline,
Yeah.
basically. Yelena Ostapenko.
Oh yeah.
She's very easy to ace. Or as they would call it in German, she's very easy to us.
What is the score in Runa and Kecmanovic? Looks like Runa had a
Uh,
couple of set points.
Yeah, he was down a
6
break, 1-6, 3-4, but then he turned it around a little bit and will have a couple of set points. So Runa is, if he's really healthy, as he's saying, he'll obviously be hoping to just win a match, get more playtime. So
Yeah.
this could be a bit of a blessing in disguise. I honestly, his draw looks really good too. I mean, Baez in the second round, then Murray or Echeverry, if he's able to get
I
through
don't know
it.
about Baez. Baez could be tough. I now think
Indoors in
I now
Basel.
rate him higher on hard court after the Winston Salem title, and also
Um,
the US Open third round, and then also I was impressed by his level against Bucano.
Mm, yeah, I don't know. I just don't trust him in courts on courts like Basel, you know.
Hmm. Yeah,
And the
and then
US
if
Open,
he
I
hits
don't really think like Marigani Alves had a real chance to beat him in the second round before getting injured. But fair,
oh, in
of
the
course
US
he
Open,
was.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
remember.
he was sort of so confident at that point that he was getting through a lot of matches. He usually wouldn't be getting through Winston Salem and US Open.
Hmm.
Who did he beat in the first round of the US Open?
Was it George? No, wait. It cannot be.
Uh,
It might have been George.
uh
Was
yeah,
it
yeah.
George? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Sounds
was.
right. Sounds right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then it
I'm
came
pretty sure they played recently and
Yeah,
could
yeah,
have been the
because they
U.S.
played in
Open.
Winston-Salem, and then I think they played again in the first round.
Yes, you're right. They were supposed to play in Winston Salem, or did they play?
No, no, they played, I think.
Oh, they played. Yes, and I think I someone asked me, do you think that Bias is gonna win at
By the way,
some
what has happened
place?
to Chorich? Do we know the injury?
He's injured. I can tell you in a second because I just had it on my email like
Because
a
his
day
last two
ago.
matches were losses to Baez, and then he hasn't played since.
Yeah, so he lost both times to Bias. Yeah, I thought Bias might have a chance to win like one of these, but obviously two was a little bit much. I will tell you in a second what his injury is. Or maybe I clicked on that email. Chorich, where is Chorich? Hmm. I guess I'll type it into the search engine. Borna Chorich, elbow injury, and that's why he pulled out of Paris yesterday. Yes, that's what the official
Probably
reason
official,
is, at least.
because that is a recurring thing with him. The
Kecmanovic
shoulder
is a
and the wrist.
brutal first round matchup for Rune. Yeah, no disagreement there, especially given he just beat him in Stockholm. But yeah, if Rune is really healthy, then getting through a match like that could really help him. Lots of playtime, good confidence. We'll see. He just took the second set, so. And the 2020 runner-up of Vienna, Lorenzo Sonego, can be double break up on Francisco Cerundolo pretty quickly. Cerundolo actually beat him in their only head-to-head meeting this year, which was in Miami. But yeah, I'm assuming that Sonego probably takes this one. He scored the biggest win of his career in Vienna, right, against Nole, 2020.
Yeah.
Weird match, certainly not the strongest Djokovic performance, but
Djokovic trying his absolute hardest, of course, in that match.
yeah. After all these years, it doesn't really matter, I guess. But
Yeah, but apparently I heard that he lost someone like very close to him before they played. So, and I think that
there was
affected
something,
him
yeah.
also, and then also the just like having been number one, he already secured it. So there was some drop off there because he had to beat two players in order to get to number one, and he ended up doing that. He beat, I think one of them was actually George. Yeah, I think one of them was Borna, and then I forget who the other one was that he beat. So
Yeah, and this time he had to play the qualifying in Vienna. Actually, lost to Alexander Miller from a setup, but he was a bit lucky with the who was it that withdrew? It was Jerry in Vienna and Maki McDonald
McDonald, yeah.
in
Oh,
Jerry
McDonald.
in Basel and McDonald here. Yeah.
Every time I see McDonald's Surrender, I always think of Eastbourne.
Yes, yes, and
Every
actually he
time,
lost to him twice this year, right? It
yeah.
wasn't only that crazy choke; it was also another match.
The other one was two tie breaks, I think. And but where was that? Was it in the Asian Swing? No,
Yeah, sometime recently, yeah.
one of the tournaments. Yeah. Yeah, it was Shanghai. God, that feels like forever ago. So yeah, Tsitsipas is continuing to hold. Although they're in this classic rally where Tsitsipas is using his forehand inside in because Thiem is defending on the backhand and then goes for a drop shot. Thiem actually gets there, but uh, doesn't do enough with the retrieval. Tries to hit an angle, short angle cross, but it hits the top of the net cord and then goes wide.
Ooh, yeah. Pretty decent Stefanos drop shot, but he could have been in trouble if Team just got it slightly higher up.
Hmm. Yeah. This time he had a good first backhand, but it was all set up by the serve. And then he could just quickly charge forward and good play. So he is one game away from round of 16 against Mahach.
Yeah, I'm calling it. Thomas Mahach to beat Stefanos Tsitsipas tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, I guess. I guess on Thursday. I have also previously, I think, on the ATP Weekly called a couple of upsets in Basel. So I'm gonna repeat them now since they are both happening on Wednesday. One of them is the easier one, Bublik beating Ruth,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is Ridi beating Felix Auger-Aliassime. If I remember correctly, on the ATP Weekly with Mario, I said that you can bet your house on it. Please don't, but yeah, I actually have a high degree of certainty, I guess,
So
in
I'm
Ridi.
I can definitely see the reading one. I can be pretty confident about that. the rude one though. Only because I don't know which Bublik. Like if is Bublik just
Yeah,
gonna tank, then like it's very
with
like
Ridi, it's a bit of a chance too. Like it's not like he's tanking, but the style is so aggressive that sometimes just nothing works out for him, and he loses. Like Indian Wells, for example, he was playing very well, and then he wins 2 games against Draper, for example. So um, both guys have the same sort of issues or like similar issues. They
it's
they,
like
they aren't repeating the
basically
performances that
Bublik
they
is just gonna refuse to play any kind of rallies, and that would just be if he serves like how he did in
Antwerp.
Antwerp, that was just ridiculous. Where he just was barely losing points on his first serve.
Yeah. Um,
But
I
also, I
I
just
just think that.
realized that
Mhm.
that Arthur Fils has a few weaknesses actually. Like Bublik did a good job of kind of
Yeah.
showcasing those weaknesses. Like he doesn't really generate pace so well off of his backhand, which is something that I noticed in the. I mean, even in the Tsitsipas match sometimes. That's why I was like, urging Stefanos to get it to Fils' backhand early in the rallies because
Yeah, and you also sort of posed the question of whether the Fields backhand in a few years can be something like the Australia Sim backhand.
yes, I see some similarities there in terms of their. But I'm not so sold on it yet. I need to see more evidence. Mm. He also doesn't really have a great block return on the forehand, but I think that's mostly due to his grip.
Yeah.
The forehand is similar to a lot of the Western grip forehands that you see, mainly on the tour, like that struggle with low contact points and slices and chips. So I think Bublik he's able to do that really well because he just blocks returns back and he just stands near the baseline and he's just like is the master of junk. Junk and big serving. That's the recipe for Bublik winning titles indoors. It looks like Thiem is going to hold. I haven't actually watched any of the points in this game, so
Yeah, it was pretty easy. Then right now, Tsitsipas gets a chance to attack finally. He makes the smash, but it's not good enough. Tsitsipas cannot pass him though. Sorry, team cannot pass him though. But of course, it was a 40 love point. Might end up being inconsequential eventually. I think the serve is out. So second one too.
is it true that both of these guys are sponsored by Red Bull?
I don't know.
I think they might be. Yeah, I
A
think they are.
team probably. Yeah, I wonder about Steph. I'm not sure.
I thought it was, but maybe it's not the case anymore.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really pay attention to it, frankly. So definitely not the person to ask.
I can look it up. I think he's still sponsored by them.
And yeah, team has done job that he needed to do here in this game. He will sit down. He will make Tsitsipas think about it for the next 90 seconds. And we'll see if these 90 seconds are enough to sort of cast any doubt in Stefanos and will he have any issues here. Probably gonna catch a bit of Rune Kecmanovic after the stream then, since they're still going. And yeah, that Permute clash, that also sounds like something.
Srihari is saying that
Uh-huh.
Thiem is largely a low margins player. He explains his great record versus the big three, but relative lack of success compared to others in his generation.
Relative lack of success?
Compared to others in his generation. I think he means like against them, as opposed to overall.
Um, I mean, I don't know. He used to have a good record against Stefanos.
Yeah, he
It's
does have a
just
good
that,
record against like Zverev. He has a good record against.
yeah, post-injury team is not pre-injury team.
Yeah,
And to be fair, in his prime, he was getting to deep stages of slams very consistently,
yeah.
which I guess wouldn't be the usual sign, the usual trait of a low margin type of player. I don't know.
Although team will probably get a wild card, right? Even if he's not in the top 103, 104.
I don't actually know that. How many years will they be getting him the wild card? It's not. It's not certain. I don't think so. I think this year he had a protected ranking still, right?
Yeah, he did. But
That was his ninth, maybe, or
is that he still had a protected? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Maybe
or
because
didn't, or did he? I'm actually not
I don't know.
sure.
But then that would mean that he played more than 12 events last year, right?
Only
Or
with a protected ranking, like that's right. It's only
is it 12
no.
events ATP level, or does that include challengers too?
I mean, it can be whatever event.
Okay, it's just whatever you choose to use, right? So
Yeah, team had a wild card actually to the Australian Open. Yeah, so that was a bit too late for his projected ranking. Yeah, I kind of remember that we were thinking that he might be saving them up, and he wouldn't get 12 as well because he wasn't out for that long. He just got 9, I think, and we thought that he was saving up his ninth for Australia. What was that winner? Uh, will he actually win the point? Yeah, team plays a frontal tweener and then loses the point. But anyway, it would be nice for him to play the Australian Open just on merit, really. I don't know if they will give him a wild card. I actually am not sure about that. There's been some Australian players recently sort of emerging as potential receivers of that. I don't know, like last year, I don't think Dane Sweeney was in the conversation, or Tristan Schoolcade, or Adam Walton, especially. This year, you basically have to give like at least two or three of them, I think, a wild card. Nick Kyrgios will be a wild card. Honestly, Rafa could be a wild card as well.
yeah.
So,
Let's see, two match points, but ace on match points. So team is now. I mean, sorry, Tsitsipas is now leads the head-to-head 6-5. So
yeah.
that is a tough one for team, especially from the first set. I think, but Stefanos was just a little too good. I think, and well, I mean, I guess in the clutch moments of the tiebreak, but also getting the break in the second set and then doing a good job of just holding on and taking his chances. So
Yeah, again, it wasn't really a poor match from team. You cannot say that. Probably not as exciting as the previous two, the team Tsitsipas matches of 2023,
yeah,
yeah, just a couple of mishaps, some really small mishaps in the tiebreak, and then he has this wild +1 forehand game to get broken.
yeah,
Little disappointing, but that's the level of Dominic Thiem right now, I guess, and
yeah,
he played what he could, really. I suppose the backhand pass probably more so, more memorable as a moment where he gave Tsitsipas the advantage rather even than the volley, because at least it was like still keeping him in the point, and that pass into the open space, oof,
yeah.
that was rough.
Do we want to stay on for Musetti Dimitrov, or should we?
I probably can't.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, yeah, that's fine. I guess this was.
If you want to, you can just stay on by yourself as well.
No, actually, I'm thinking about it now, and I don't think I'll be able to stay for much of after the first set. So I don't think
Okay.
it's that worth it. So, but, I'll probably have to leave after the maybe even before the first set is over. Before John signs us out with a cool video.
Yeah, good match certainly, but third time in 2023, team cannot get the better of Tsitsipas. I will repeat my prediction of Mahach beating beating Tsitsipas in the second round. Yeah, Vansh's sound is sort of up and down today. It's been better, it's been worse. I think it depends on your position, but also there were a
Yes.
few moments when it was like there was some really loud noise, but it was just briefly, so I didn't even mention it.
Okay, yeah. Apologies for that because I'm not in San Diego today. I am
Ooh,
in Long Beach, so I'm a couple hours away and just staying at a friend's house.
and
And
you're watching tennis with me on Talking Tennis.
yes, indeed. My roommate is not here right now, so
Okay,
I kind of
okay, I
have the
see.
whole house to myself for a few hours.
Hmm,
So that's
that's good. Yeah, recently I also did some recording at a friend's house. He went out to like do something at the university, like he still hasn't, gotten his MA. And I just stayed, and after a party, because I slept at his house after a party, I just recorded a podcast, then vomited instantly after. It was a great experience. Yeah, talking for an hour by myself, so like just nonstop was really tough for my throat after that party, and I was just drinking water constantly. And after the recording, the amount of water was just apparently too much. uh, a fun
that is,
experience, really.
yeah.
10 out of 10. I cannot recommend it, but um, vomiting tennis doesn't have the same ring to it. Yeah, you could say that I was vomiting challenger tennis. But anyway, I guess that's it then, right?
Okay.
Thank you to all the guys in the chat. As usual, 7-6. We have to sort of think about it and start betting on the matches that we're commenting on, right? And start betting on tiebreak in the opening set. If
Yeah.
we did that for the last 3 or 4, we actually would have been fairly rich already.
Yeah.
And as it stands, I'm still in the deepest, darkest Poland. Well,
Yeah.
um, that's all from me then.
All right. Um, keep on talking tennis, I guess, and don't vomit.
And you know the drill. Apparently, there's gonna be some video, so get ready.
Yeah. So yeah, John, you can hit us out with that.
Play.
Inshallah, have all chauffeur. Ada shisha.
والله الحق شوف طبعا يمكن 3-4 بالحق 3-4 3-4 من الناس اللي يعقدوني الكل كي تاكسيستي كي في الريستوران كيف وقت مشيت انت برا
What we do, by the way, with players that we interview on a one-to-one basis like yourself, we've done Liam Brody, we've had Laura Sigmund on the women's side, and Ostapenko and many others. We often call them friends of the show. So randomly your name will appear in the next few months and we'll say, Aziz, friend of the show.
Well, I'm happy to be a friend of the show.
Aziz, nice to meet you. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
So I'm here with Jihen, and Jihen has been teaching me some Arabic, or Tunisian Arabic, let's say. So far I have Inshallah.
Yeah.
Okay, I had that before actually. What else do I have? I have Shisha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have On
Jabeur.
Jabeur. I'm not sure if that counts. Tell me, how do I say thank you?
يعيشك.
Yaishik.
Yeah.
And how do I say see you next year?
نشوفك العام الجاي.
Inshufak al-Amrijay.
Yeah, great. Inshallah.
Wonderful. Inshallah. Inshallah, of course. Thank you very much for being a wonderful host here at the Jasmine Open. And yeah,
It was a pleasure. مرحبا.
marhaba.
مرحبا.